Holy cow, so freaking pod.
I'm Cherry Doom. I'm a person who reads books sometimes, and I'm also fairly well versed in the BDSM subculture.
I'm Charles. I am an English student, and I am somewhat well versed, but not that well versed in BDSM culture.
Okay, I am Chad, and that is my real name. It's my fake name. It's my slave name. So I was almost an English student, but really my specialty is in East Asian literature and film. I have no BDSM background.
And we're well qualified to talk about
50 Shades of Grey.
Chapter 1. This chapter starts with what I've now heard is like a huge no-no in writing, which is having the character look at themselves in the mirror so that they can describe themselves to us, the reader, so that we know what they look like.
Right, that's very lazy. You don't want that.
Yep.
Yeah, what do you guys think about, I guess, generally the style of this writing?
I feel she chose a strange tense because this isn't an easy one to work with. It's obvious that if you're going to have like some kind of sexual novel, you're going to want somebody who's not going to be in the third person. You want like I, so like, you know, I did sexy thing, whatever. She's kind of trying to smash two genres together is the way I saw it. So I think most of the problems come from that. One of the first things she mentions is her hair,
Okay.
and her appearance. I found it interesting that like her hair is like troublesome.
Another famous person with messy hair, Harry Potter.
Hermione Granger.
Her use of tense is terrible. Not because she chose like present tense, but I can't always tell if she intends the narration to be like actually first person, because sometimes like it's supposed to be in character, I think, obviously, but there are times when she just she writes something very and I'll use one of her words, like very sterilely. It's just a literal description of what's happening, like, oh, I went and did this thing. And for the style of book that she's writing, that doesn't really seem appropriate. This isn't like an I novel. It's weird.
I would say she just it has to do with like that bad switching again. Like it's sort of inevitable that you have to use the concrete language if you're writing like explicit erotica. But you need to remember that like, okay, once you're outside the bedroom or outside the sexual situation, you shouldn't just completely like drop it with all the metaphors and like I did this, I did that.
Yeah, something else that ties into that is I can't always tell, like, since she's a first time writer and she's not that good, it's hard to tell how much of the like cliches, idioms, and colloquialisms that she throws in are supposed to be like an artifact of the character or an artifact of just her inability to write.
This author, James, they are English. I did not know this going into the story, and it explains a lot. If I don't know if either of you guys knew that. I didn't. I just completely skipped the introduction about her or whatever.
I think it could definitely have a Dickensian quality.
I feel like she doesn't know how people talk here. She's asking, when Anna's asking Christian about his hobbies, he says that they are very varied, and that to me sounds like a really English thing to say and not at all an American thing to say.
Why would that be British? Like as a function of wordplay? Like that's a wordplay they would use?
It just doesn't sound human. Honestly, it doesn't sound like a human thing to say to me. Like, it seems like she was doing cutesy alliteration. Like, the one thing that really sticks out to me about her Britishisms is when she has, and this is just an annoying character trait, is how Anastasia just says, damn this and damn that, like every time she's upset with something.
I think I tried to highlight it every time she did that, but I think I quickly lost count.
It happens in the second sentence twice. Damn my hair and damn Catherine Kavanaugh. It's like...
And then damn her extracurricular activities in the next paragraph.
That's like a Humphrey Bogart kind of like, damn you, and...
Yeah.
It sounds so like film noir, like an incorrect American.
Well, I think the point is that she's such a antiquated technophobe. She's an old soul, or who is also a virgin
She's old in many ways.
Super naive.
Something that we'll have to get into later, but that we can start with the microdisc recorder. It didn't strike me as that strange when it was first mentioned in the text, but thinking of it, you could just use like your iPad. You could use your anything.
Yeah.
We don't work with tapes and discs anymore.
Well, I mean, this was published in 2011, but when was it originally written as its fan fiction
2009.
iteration?
2009 was still way after mini discs,
Yeah,
but in the print
yeah.
in the print version that I have, it's actually digital. Like in the PDF,
Oh.
it says mini disc. In the print version I have, it says digital. They changed it,
Oh, okay.
which is
Interesting.
They updated it.
But they had to update it, and maybe we'll get to it in another podcast. But there were some really big problems with the first edition.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was originally ebook mostly, right?
Yeah.
And then it was published in print. Okay. So I guess moving on, what do you guys think about Catherine Kavanaugh?
Kate Kavanaugh. It's helpful that she doesn't look too much like the main character. I don't know why. Alright, I have some thoughts about Kate. As we all seem to have noticed, she is gamine and
Yeah, gamine and gorgeous.
gamine and gorgeous. Gamine is from the French gamin. A slim, often boyish, elegant, wide-eyed young woman who is, or is perceived to be, mischievous, teasing, or sexually appealing. That's kind of a weird
Oh.
word to use. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen it anywhere.
My initial impression is like, oh, there's gonna be a threesome.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Some sexual exploration with Kate. I don't know if that ever happens in any of the three books, but
It's funny you go for threesome because I was expecting her to be like the dark horse dom. Like she comes home and says like, "Oh, like Christian was blah blah," or like maybe at some point like Christian says he wants to date me, and she goes like Kate's like, "You can't date him because you're mine," and they go into like a scene, but that never happened.
well, I mean, it might be that, you know, that is something that is just subtext only.
Perhaps
Because as Twilight's very much a Mormon, non-homoerotic at all, and that is a reflection of that.
right.
Or
Well, because we're mentioning Twilight, I think now we have to say if that is if everybody didn't know because I knew this and I forgot that this is based off Twilight fan fiction.
I think most people probably know that.
I forgot. I completely forgot. Like when this came out years ago, I said, "Oh, like this is Twilight fan fiction" because I read some article. But coming back to it, I in fact didn't remember this. So if everybody else has forgotten, that's what's up.
Yeah. Why else would it be set in Seattle?
I don't understand like why if James like wanted to make this alternate universe fan fiction, she changed like their ages, she added characters. Why she still insisted that it was be set in Seattle and Washington? Like why didn't she just move it to Britain?
I mean, I guess if it was fan fiction and there were still vampires, the original justification for setting it in Seattle is because the weather is inclement, so there's not a lot of sun.
But I think it was an alternate universe where they were just regular people. I don't know specifically.
Well, she's
but-
also not American, so maybe she just doesn't know enough about like U.S. geography or something.
No, I
other
think
than,
she
like-
does because she mentions like the Seattle weather even in like the first chapter. So in like American romantic literature and Gothic literature, you know, the weather is often like for setting the scene. It's like ooh spooky or like oh like a dark and mysterious weather or like it's raining just like my soul is like that. You know.
Yeah.
So I get it. I'm not surprised by this.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I also had another thought. Does she live in London? Because London has similar weather to Seattle. Maybe she just felt like she could write it.
True, very true.
But I do agree that I think she's gonna at least use the weather like really stereotypically, like a Gothic romance, Wuthering Heights sort of thing.
Of course she is. At the same time, I don't find that so inexcusable.
No,
It
I mean
makes
that's a
sense.
perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as she can pull it off, which I don't think she'll be able to do.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Oh, one problem I think with Kate in the first chapter is that she's purely an exposition machine. Like this ties back into like characters not talking like real people. Her first like block of text is just her explaining everything about this interview, which Anna should already know about. Like, oh, it took me so long to get this interview, and we're gonna graduate soon. And it's like, well, why wouldn't she know that?
She's nothing. Like, she's just there as a device.
She's not nothing. She is, quote, articulate, strong, persuasive, argumentative, beautiful, and her dearest
And my
friend.
dearest friend. And that's funny because it comes in a paragraph where she describes her as persuasive in a different way. So she unnecessarily added a description of her being persuasive just explicitly.
And this is another thing that James does a lot. She will put many, many adjectives together. This seems like the most egregious one that I noticed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just all on top of each other. I feel like, should be able to do that some other way, demonstrating through dialogue and description.
Okay, Kate begs me in her rasping, sore throat voice. How does she do it? Even ill, she looks gaming and gorgeous, strawberry blonde hair in place and green eyes bright, although now red-rimmed and runny. So there's a lot of things there. Like, by the way, she also ignores her pang of unwelcome sympathy. What is that? I keep forgetting how bad this is. But yeah, that's like, okay, let's count them. 1, 2, and I'm gonna consider the blonde hair a descriptor, and the words are gonna include. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Jesus, that's like 11 descriptive words in one.
Well,
sentence.
I mean, at least we now have a very clear picture of what she looks like, except not at all. I guess.
Or it would have been even more effective to say like, oh, she's usually gorgeous, but like now she looks like shit. Like,
The way that she like crams in all of these descriptors really lends her writing this like rushed feel, like she's trying to pack in a lot of stuff and doesn't have a lot of time. It's really
I kind of know what you mean. Like, I'm wondering if this was originally published chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
probably it was. Think of like
where you have-
fanfiction.net. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit that I write fan fiction, and I definitely do chapter by chapter, where I will write a chapter in a weekend,
right.
and go through one editing pass, and I definitely, feel rushed. But I mean, I think, she had many years to polish it. I think she could have, cleaned it up.
Yeah, you would think that it would flow better. And I'll admit also that I want to say since I was like 12, like I used to read a lot of fan fiction as a teenager, and like yeah, I just see a lot of fan fiction-y elements, but for the most part, well, you know what? I did notice it. I did notice it a lot, and I'm thinking of like the whole book too, since I have finished it and you haven't, or maybe you have. I don't know.
Nope.
No. Nope.
Mm-mm.
Oh, neither of you. Really?
You hold the power in this particular dynamic.
I guess I control you guys. And speaking of control, I want to ask maybe like a final question about Kate, because I don't know if there's much more to say about her at this point. What do you guys think? Why couldn't Anna have just been the one doing the article? Or like, is this to show that Anna has submissive qualities because Kate is pressuring her to do things?
That might be it. But you're
Yeah,
right.
it doesn't come across. That was something I wanted to like bring up. It doesn't make sense in a real world sense for Kate to put this on someone that's not a journalist. She's the editor. She should immediately pass this off to somebody that knows what they're doing.
But also, maybe it's like a device so that Anna can go in knowing nothing. Like, if she was doing the article, then she would have done research.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either, because why wouldn't Kate give her information? Like, why wouldn't her roommate, even if she's like rushing out to do this, to have given her just like a brief summary?
She's so sick, she forgot.
And this comes up later because like Anna reads the questions. There's a line saying that she reads the questions before she goes into the interview, and then during the interview she's not thinking about the questions.
Yeah.
Like there's the gay thing, and she goes, "Oh, why didn't I filter?"
Let's go ahead and reenact this.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, but before we start the interview, there's one thing I want us to all comment on, and then we can move to it. Here's the thing: the paintings, and also even before that, the mysterious black man who leaves and never comes back into the story.
Oh, really? I thought he was
Spoilers,
going
he
to be
doesn't
like
come back.
another...
Sorry.
Maybe he's the black vampire from Twilight.
Oh, that's a good point.
And she was just like, oh, I better put this person of color in here somewhere. And he's just like this one throwaway character.
The single black
Okay.
man passes in and out of the office. What is his significance? Why does he never show up again? Like, did they ever have that golf game? At first I hoped he was going to turn out to be Christian Grey, because he seemed really nice and cool, but guess what? We never hear anything about him again.
I found the description of that guy a little creepy, since she described him as like the smile as crinkling around his eyes is just a weird detail.
No, I thought that was, like, kind of nice, and, like, you know...
Shows he's smiling with his whole face, not just his mouth.
Yeah, but the way that she describes other things, it seems more sociopathic.
Yeah, I guess.
It just has to do with, like, her objects descriptions. And okay, we're gonna go on. But the final thing is, what do we want to do with the paintings of forgettable objects, except when they're arranged all together in tiny painted pictures?
What does that mean? What is that about? I don't understand the symbolism of that.
I don't either.
If anything.
I'll explain, though. I think that the author is trying to show even though Anastasia, and Christian come from different walks of life, they have the same passion for beauty.
Taste in art, yeah.
Yeah, but she does an absolutely shit job. I mean, like, what is the importance of this? Do you agree with me, or?
Is it supposed to be her? A mundane, forgotten object?
Oh, that's cool.
But I don't know, like displayed together as what? Like, arranged, like Christian wants her to be arranged?
I don't really think... I'm not sure that the author is capable of that much depth. I really think it's just supposed to be Anastasia, like, showing off that she has taste or something. Like, she can see the beauty...
Raising the ordinary to extraordinary.
Yeah, she can see the beauty in something like that. And obviously so
I
can
think
Christian.
that might be supposed to be her, though.
That's true. Yeah, it is a good parallel.
She's this mousy literature student who is going to be, elevated to this rich dude's lifestyle and made into an object.
So, like, the ordinary objects are elevated. I mean, that's not so hard to figure out, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't say the author didn't think of it. But
yeah.
To kind of wrap up, I would say it's like the first of many instances of questionable art taste. So mark it down, questionable art taste, and let's look at that later.
Okay,
too.
I'll look for that in the future.
It sounds like something you would see in like a framing store, like what can you do with art installations? Try these boring pictures all together, like, and that's it. So with that,
that's how it stuck out to me.
To wherever you guys want.
Okay, so does everybody have their scripts now?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I think it's pretty obvious there's two. There's Andrea, the secretary, there's Christian, and then there's Anastasia. So I will be Christian, obviously. Chills, you can be Anastasia, and Chad will be Andrea, the secretary.
Okay, so I guess it starts with me. I'll start us off. You're very young to have amassed such an empire. To what do you owe your success?
Business is all about people, Miss Steele, and I'm very good at judging people. I know how they tick, what makes them flourish and what doesn't, what inspires them and how to incentivize them. I employ an exceptional team and I reward them well. My belief is to achieve success in any scheme one has to make oneself a master of that scheme. Know it inside and out, know every detail. I work hard, very hard, to do that. I make decisions based on logic and facts. I have a natural gut instinct that can spot and nurture a good solid idea and good people. The bottom line is, it's always down to good people.
Maybe you're just lucky.
I don't subscribe to luck or chance, Miss Steele. The harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. It really is all about having the right people on your team and directing their energies accordingly. I think it was Harvey Firestone who once said, "The growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership."
You sound like a control freak.
Oh, I exercise control in all things, Miss Steele. Besides, immense power is acquired by assuring yourself in your secret reveries that you were born to control things.
Do you feel that you have immense power?
I employ over 40,000 people, Miss Steele. That gives me a certain sense of responsibility. Power, if you will. Sorry, okay. If I were to decide I was no longer interested in the telecommunications business and sell up, 20,000 people would struggle to make their mortgage payments after a month or so.
Don't you have a board to answer to?
I own my own company. I don't have to answer to a board.
And do you have any interests outside your work?
I have varied interests, Miss Steele. Very varied.
Sorry. But if you work so hard, what do you do to chill out?
Chill out? Well, to chill out, as you put it. I sail, I fly, I indulge in various physical pursuits. I'm a very wealthy man, Miss Steele, and I have expensive and absorbing hobbies.
You invest in manufacturing. Why, specifically?
I like to build things. I like to know how things work, what makes things tick, how to construct and deconstruct. And I have a love of ships. What can I say?
That sounds like your heart talking, rather than logic and facts.
Possibly, though there are people who say I don't have a heart.
Why would they say that?
Because they know me well.
Would your friends say you're easy to get to know?
I'm a very private person, Miss Steele. I go a long way to protect my privacy. I don't often give interviews.
Why did you agree to do this one?
Because I'm a benefactor of the university, and for all intents and purposes, I couldn't get Miss Kavanaugh off my back. She badgered and badgered my PR people, and I admire that kind of tenacity.
You also invest in farming technologies. Why are you interested in this area?
We can't eat money, Miss Steele, and there are too many people on this planet who don't have enough to eat.
That sounds very philanthropic. Is it something you feel passionately about, feeding the world's poor?
It's shrewd business.
Do you have a philosophy? If so, what is it?
I don't have a philosophy as such. Maybe a guiding principle. Carnegie's. A man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled. I'm a very singular driven. I like control of myself and those around me.
So you want to possess things?
I want to deserve to possess them, but yes, bottom line, I do.
You sound like the ultimate consumer.
I am.
You were adopted. How far do you think that's shaped the way you are?
I have no way of knowing.
How old were you when you were adopted?
That's a matter of public record, Miss Steele.
You've had to sacrifice a family life for your work.
That's not a question.
Sorry. Have you had to sacrifice a family life for your work?
I have a family. I have a brother and sister and 2 loving parents. I'm not interested in extending my family beyond that.
Are you gay, Mr. Gray?
No, Anastasia, I'm not.
I apologize. It's, written here.
These aren't your own questions?
No. Kate, Miss Kavanaugh, she compiled the questions.
Are you colleagues on the student paper?
No, she's my roommate.
Did you volunteer to do this interview?
I was drafted. She's not well.
That explains a great deal.
Mr. Gray, forgive me for interrupting, but your next meeting is in 2 minutes.
We're not finished here, Andrea. Please cancel my next meeting.
Very well, Mr. Gray.
Where were we, Miss Steele?
Please don't let me keep you from anything.
I want to know about you. I think it's only fair.
There's not much to know.
What are your plans after you graduate?
I haven't made any plans, Mr. Gray. I just need to get through my final exams.
We run an excellent internship program here.
Oh, I'll bear that in mind, though I'm not sure I'd fit in here.
Why do you say that?
It's obvious, isn't it?
Not to me. Would you like me to show you around?
I'm sure you're far too busy, Mr. Gray, and I do have a long drive.
You're driving back to WSU in Vancouver? Well, you'd better drive carefully. Did you get everything you need?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the interview, Mr. Gray.
The pleasure's been all mine.
That's a lot worse when you take all the stuff out of it. It's kind of short, and it's kind of like you really don't get a lot from him. Like, this is not a very good interview. Like, what is she trying to find out?
Yeah, and okay, I would say that was definitely less than 10 minutes. And she drove like 3 hours for like this 10-minute interview that Kate probably could have done over the phone.
This stretches like bounds of believability for me, because I don't see why Last Princess of Russia Anastasia would be meeting Dorian Gray.
Do we want to talk a little bit more about, like, what is the point? Because I really don't see it. Like, if it was, like, a way to kind of show that he is a megadom, which this does a good job of, if the goal was to show that she is sexually fitted to him, I don't think it's fulfilled that goal.
Definitely not.
Especially not in the interview itself. It's more like the things surrounding the interview. Like, she comes in the room, she trips.
Oh, I'm on my hands and knees.
Yeah, she's
the
on
first
her-
thing he sees.
I don't even understand how she tripped. She just tripped over her own
Well, she's
feet.
clumsy. She's a clumsy, mousy nobody. How could anybody possibly be interested in her?
Where were her feet positioned that she tripped over them walking through a door?
I've done similar things.
Oh,
I actually
okay.
haven't, and that is... I don't know, like, what is the importance of this? Like, is she clumsy later? Is she? I don't know.
I mean, I believe that it's establishing a trait. It's just that, like, she established it so clumsily.
Yeah, it seems like she's, not comfortable in her own body. She doesn't like her hair. She's squirming all the time. She's tripping over things.
She can't walk as well as Christian. Christian can walk athletically, lithely, and gracefully.
I'm sure the author had nothing like this in mind. But, okay, Christian is a hella dom, and she is... some vanilla hoe. She's never, we can assume she's probably not, like, got into this kind of a situation before. So in other words, she's inexperienced, not comfortable in your body, like, it sort of is like she's almost trying to ignore it.
Seems like that might be the case. I mean, the phrase "she's not well" struck me as very British. That's the first thing that really, like, stuck out to me.
When she
Yeah.
says you invest in manufacturing, why specifically? Like, that's really British.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was wondering about, like, why is she asking specifically?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because, she studies British literature. It's coloring her vernacular.
She's just a heavily affected 20-something. Sorry, here's something that, not so British, but it's, like, really far back. Kate's, like, talking to Anastasia, and she says, "The questions will see you through."
So there's, like, a few things in this interview that, like, hint at his true nature.
Yeah, hint.
Okay, yeah. Like, there's one part where she says, "Yes, sir," and his eyes know speculatively.
How did she know he's speculating? This is too meta.
Yeah, there's a lot of her internal monologue that does that.
Another thing I wanted to wonder about is the italics. There's a lot of italics of, like, things she's saying to herself. And I don't know if that's, like, necessary.
Yeah, as opposed to the thoughts she's thinking in narration, they're the thoughts she's immediately thinking.
Like, Get a grip,
Or
Steel.
talking to herself.
The book is so incoherent that it seems almost stream of consciousness at times, like the internal narration, but not in a good way, just like someone who can't write.
I promise you both, it only gets worse.
Oh, that yes sir thing, that reminded me of something else that I noted. She starts out in her internal monologue referring to him as Mr. Gray, which just seems unnatural.
Like Mr. Darcy.
I guess. I don't know, but she seems kind of like a flippant in like how she thinks, so I kind of feel like she wouldn't have that like immediate respect for him, especially since she claims to not know anything about him.
Yeah, she's mad flip.
I mean, she's clearly, like, intimidated, though, by all the blondes working in his office.
Yeah, but that's before she even gets there. Like she's
I think his richness is enough to justify it. Also, she's obviously attracted to him. She's denying it, but she is. Did anybody else kind of go like, where's the sex already? Wouldn't have this been the perfect time?
To do what?
Just something.
Like, they have sex, like, right here in the first chapter in the office?
No, but to establish the power dynamic, I don't really feel that's done here.
Yeah, you're right. There's the one thing about him commanding her to drive carefully that she feels compelled to obey. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just like, you know, he's a rich, tall man who's a few years older than me. And I wonder about the age difference. We learned that he's 27.
6 years?
And I wonder if, like, that's something where she wanted to go older, like, but not too much older, to, like, not make it too skeevy or whatever.
I think a lot of the sort of like kinky elements of the story, they are a little like whitewashed, for lack of a better term. Like, rather than having like a daddy relationship, you just have like a guy who's like a little
Yeah.
older, just like enough to be like to have power over you in that respect. Going for something, but
I, like, skipped ahead to when she first has sex. So I haven't gotten to any of the, like, harder stuff yet, but I feel like it's, probably definitely very whitewashed.
needless to say, I am not as impressed as I could have been.
Oh yeah, the last line, which is Anastasia, he says as a farewell, Christian, I reply, and mercifully the doors close. Why does she suddenly, like, it seems like she's suddenly being sassy, like...
I think this would have been cooler if she had said like, sir. Come on.
see that's part of my point. The way to me that it seems she was characterized through a lot of her internal dialogue or internal monologue was that she was a little more like sassy and flippant.
Yeah, she definitely does, she's like, oh, he's a control freak.
Yeah, which is why it was weird to me that she deferred so quickly in her thoughts. I know he was supposed to have like a commanding presence, but like even before meeting him, when I was saying about referring to him as Mr. Gray, she doesn't seem like the type of person that would pay him that sort of respect before she'd ever met him.
I guess. I mean, I don't know, I think it might just be respect out of, you know, she's interviewing this person.
But no, in her mind, like she just seems like the sort of person that
Yeah.
would call him by his full name rather than using Mr.
Okay, yeah, full name maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we can attribute this more to the troubles with her character. We don't really get a good idea about her. She goes between being boring and being negative. Like, I would
Yeah.
like this novel more if they included more positive traits about her, just in her own self-ideation. Blah.
I was gonna say, just like every woman. Every lady has negative thoughts about themselves, probably more negative than positive, just because of the way being self-conscious works.
Let's say I was doing all this. Well, actually, to be honest, I probably would have been a lot more charming than she was. And I also probably would have read through the questions.
Which she did.
When does she do that?
When she's waiting in the lobby, she explicitly says that she reads through the questions, and then later she acts like she hasn't read through the questions. I sit down, fish the questions from my backpack, and go through them.
She says, "Are you gay, comma, Mr. Gray?" Why would she add that if she was, like, just blurting it
Because
out?
it rhymes.
I guess because it sounds more like an interview question than if she just said, "Are you gay?"
But do you think Mr. Gray was written down there?
Yes.
On the paper?
Yes.
I think so.
That was written, but nothing else. Do you think Kate was, like, trying to trap him? Like, she was asking all these, you know, innocuous questions, and then she was going to, like, pull off her glasses that she doesn't have and be like, "Are you gay, Mr. Gray?" This brings up another question. What do you think would have happened if Kate had made this interview? Like, I can't see much difference than them, except maybe Kate sounds a little bit prettier. So, like, do you think that if it had been Kate, do you think that this would have happened with Kate?
I don't think so.
No.
Part of the reason I think that wouldn't have happened is because, based on like the description of Kate, she is more assertive and she's like the fiery red-haired sort of character.
She has more charm, too. She's just more comfortable. She would have been more in control of that interview.
So the fact that, like, Anastasia is so squirmy and unsure of herself is why.
Incidentally, I think that's why the author is trying to make it look like they have some kind of,
Natural.
chemistry together. Right, they don't really...
to me, the questions didn't seem that innocuous. They seemed very accusatory. And I feel like Kate's probably that sort of reporter where she'd be doing like quote unquote investigative journalism. So giving them to a character like Anastasia, who is weak willed and a bit callow, to have to ask such questions straight on would make her really uncomfortable and put her out of her comfort zone so far that she'd be easier to manipulate that way. I don't think it was quite that nuanced, but it did kind of come off that way.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, like, what was Kate really going after? Like, is it just that this guy's like a mysterious guy, or like maybe he was supposed to have done some like suspicious business practices?
Maybe it sounds like, he didn't give very many interviews, so like she was trying to get as much as she could.
Yeah, I really think that the questions were kind of like they were really barbed. Like like, why are you investing in farming, and like, how have you amassed so much power, and then like, are you gay? Like, if that was actually like, if those are on the list, that's a list that's like, I want to get at your core.
Though I sort of feel like how have you, so young, amassed so much power?
No, I think you're right, like, about him being young, and that's why like the first question doesn't seem as critical as the later ones, where she's like asking, "Oh, you're so young. How did you do it?" It's because it's a common interview technique. I don't know if she knows this, like, to start out with innocuous questions, and like they do become, I think, like a lot sharper. I wonder if she was like trying to channel like Jeremy Paxman, the author, like his interview techniques. He's a real famous like British journalist whose reputation is built on like really harsh interrogations, basically, of politicians and stuff. He's a pretty good journalist.
But then this is like a bad facsimile of him. Like, this is not like, maybe if you replaced him with like a 12-year-old girl. Are you gay?
Yeah.
About this one interview section, the hair colors, do we all notice these? How could it escape our notice? All the blondes, and then our
Right.
little protagonist is brunette. Is Christian Grey? Is he like is he a ginge? Is he a redhead? It says
I think
copper.
he's Robert Pattinson's hair color.
Yeah, he's described as unruly copper-headed.
I would say very light brunette.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking also.
What are our hair colors? What do our hair colors say?
Yeah,
about
what are
us?
our hair colors?
I'm a kind of dishwater blonde with some weird natural highlights up in the front. That obviously means that I am, on the outside I'm very mousy and shy, but I have a dominant streak in me.
Sure, right. Like, the world is your oyster because you're blonde. Chad, what is your hair color?
I have black hair, raven hair. So I don't know. I'm mysterious and dark.
Ooh, mysterious.
Guess what? This book is not for either of you. It's for me, because I have brunette hair, which is thick and unmanageable. I have blue eyes. I happen to occupy a certain place in the spectrum, and so let's think. I mean, is this the demographic? It's obviously not for men. Sorry. It's obviously not for women who the world is their oyster. Not sorry. So that leaves me. And I don't really like this book, and I find it troublesome.
Why?
Oh.
Why? But it's for you.
I don't know. Like, it's just, for a book about kinky stuff, it doesn't really draw you out of your comfort zone at any point.
Really? They mentioned butt plugs, though. I know that.
Oh no, not a butt plug. I'm crying.
What would be out of your comfort zone?
What would be out of my comfort
I'm not to get
zone?
too personal. That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen.
Wait. Before we do that, as for the demographic of this book, I'm still not entirely convinced it's for people in, like, humans, because there is this part where she's talking about setting up the recorder, and she says, "I'm all fingers and thumbs," which is exactly what everyone has on their hands.
Oh yes, I wanted to mention that.
And my note here is, these are called hands, quote unquote. Since the writer is obviously not human or has never met a human,
It's for somebody
this
who's
is-
uncomfortable with the idea of fingers and thumbs. Or was she saying, like, I'm literally all fingers and thumbs? Like, I have no head or
No
body.
palms.
Like a worm made of fingers and thumbs.
No wonder he's attracted to her.
There's no palms. Her wrists just go to fingers and thumbs, and they just wiggle.
I don't know how she's talking. I guess she must be doing that thing, like when you draw a face on your hand and you make it talk, like, can I interview you?
She has fingers and thumbs in place of teeth. They just wiggle around in there. She got a thumb for a tongue.
That's so hideous.
She's a strange lady with 2 left feet and all fingers.
Two left
and
feet,
thumbs.
all fingers and thumbs. It doesn't deal with normal body types.
Yeah, differently abled people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be an inversion of the old, like Chaucer era outward signs of inward corruption.
Yeah, exactly. Physiognomy. Actually, it'll be interesting to see for you two. Not me, because I'm amazing and already read the book. To see if that physiognomy thing will figure in later. Like, do we have an ugly person who will be a villain, or is everybody just going to be beautiful and that's not going to matter? Who knows?
I hope everyone's just beautiful. That way I can dissociate harder.
Christian says he makes decisions based on logic and facts, as opposed to what? And then he follows it up with actually, like, oh, I trust my instincts. I have great instincts. Is that logic or facts? I think that's
Nope.
actually the opposite.
It was a huge, he was like, huge logical fallacy there, where he's saying like, oh, I pick people, and I know how to work with people, and then he literally says like, I use my intuition to pick people, and then she calls him out on it. She's like, maybe it's luck, and he goes, I don't subscribe to luck or chance, and then immediately says like, I just know how to pick people. Like that's exactly.
I actually do subscribe to luck and chance.
It's kind of like horoscopes, where like they just say a bunch of vague statements that can contradict each other, and like they apply to anybody. Yeah.
Later on, this isn't like there's. I think the author just doesn't really understand logic or like the world, because when he's describing like why he's interested in like boats and stuff, where he's saying like, oh, I like to deconstruct and deconstruct, and I like to figure out how things work. That's perfectly logical.
I like boats.
That's like, she says, oh, that sounds like you're talking from your heart,
Yeah.
but actually that's perfectly logical. That sounds like an engineer. So
Sure it does, yeah.
I mean, I don't see like why that would be from his heart necessarily, other than that he loves boats, and that kind of ignores the rest of what he said.
I mean, I was expecting him to be like this Ayn Rand, like, Gorian guy. Like, before I read the book, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he has a giant corporation. He must be Ayn Rand, except a man. He's not. He's just, like, some kind of fucked up philanthropist, basically. Like, his sort of thing was, like, if I can own it and take care of it, then I'm worthy. Like, it's not that weird, actually. The main character is constantly like, oh, what a control freak. What a fucking weirdo. Like, he's not that weird. If anything, like, it's so easy to put that into an archetype. He's overachieving, adopted.
What is the archetype for adoption? I'm adopted. I'd like to know.
Oh no! I don't want to be insulting, but
Oh no, I
typically,
won't find it insulting. You didn't
I
write
would
the book.
say parents of adopted children, and in fact, this is true in the book. They usually push them to do a lot of things. The expectations are kind of high. Would you agree, or is that not?
I mean, I think it depends on your parents.
Yeah, it always does, of course, but
Like my parents wanted me to excel, but it's not like they pushed me hard.
actually, yeah, I might as well go ahead and spoiler this. Maybe you can. He says later in the book that like his mother had a mantra, and it was like martial art, instrument, foreign language. And like to me, that is the more typical. Like rich parents adopt a kid,
Yeah.
and they make it good. Like
That sounds like the like quote unquote, or the stereotypical quote unquote like tiger mom archetype of
Yeah.
like Asian kids.
but his adopted mom, I'll go ahead and spoil it. She's not Asian. That's because everybody in the story is white,
Except for Jose.
except for Jose, and except for the mysterious black
That
man
black
who never
guy.
comes back.
Mysterious dread dude.
Spoiler dungeon. Ask me your questions, please.
Okay, first question. Do they or don't they?
They do.
Wow!
Wow.
I have a question. Do they or don't they fuck on a boat?
They do fuck on a boat, but I think it's actually not in this book. I think it's in the next book.
Well, setting that up real early. Okay, that's good. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Fuck on a boat.
Do they find out that through adoption they are actually related?
No,
Oh wait, I have a spoiler question. Does the student newspaper succeed?
it neither succeeds nor fails. But the article is published. Are we sated? Are we satisfied?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well. Ta-da!
Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you very much.
No thanks.
We'll possibly see you next time
Hope
for
so.
chapter 2.
Bye.